So I'm going to ask you some questions, Anna Maria, and they're actually they're going to be more on your other area of expertise on health stuff, if you don't mind. And actually, I do see a question from the audience, so I'll throw it out to them first. So let's see here. Stephen, please state where you're from and ask your question.
I'm from Syosset, New York. Anna Maria, I know that years ago you used to do look at blood a lot, and you did that for many years very intensely. And you came to some conclusions that other people didn't. You came to the conclusion that fruit feeds yeast, mold, fungus, cancer. Can you tell us, in other words, a lot of it's at this point, there's so many people, one saying that we should eat fruit, that it's good, and two saying that we should not have oil or fats. Now, it's hard for me to figure out who is accurate and who's not. Did you see something when you did the blood work that gave you a perspective that these other people don't have about the fruit? And then also, why are you comfortable saying oil or fat, raw seeds, nuts, olives, avocados could be part of your diet when so many other people are saying no matter what, avoid fat?
Yeah, so we used to have the live blood on the microscope, and we also, of course, have the blood test, the CBC and chemistry. So they both relate to each other big time. And, so in our diet, because it's 100% raw, it's 100% organic, it's alive. And 50% at least of our diet, I would say 80% of our buffet is sprouts that we serve our guests. And, sprouts have totally different life force than the spinach and the kale and all the other things that we kind of add on. And they have theirs, they have a lot of calcium and of course minerals, but you cannot compare that to the sprouts. So because your body is so nourished and it got so much out of the phytochemicals, the hormones, the oxygen, the enzymes that we got from these foods, including all the minerals and vitamins, of course, we find that a little bit of oil, and of course, we don't use a lot of oil, and we use the best kind we can find, and it's sesame oils, olive oil, it's hemp oil, it's shea oil, you name it. Mainly, we also get most of the omega-3 that everybody wants so much of. We get it from our nuts and seeds. We get it from the sprouts. We get it from avocado, of course, avocado oil, you name it. So it's everything is sparingly. Realize it takes 40 pounds of olives to make a quart of olive oil. So you use it sparingly. And when it comes to sugar, yes, because looking on the microscope and seeing one little drop of your blood, magnify it 10,000 times, you actually realize that fungus is big time. On the microscope, it looks like little white cotton balls. And it is very much fed by fructose, which is in fruit, in carrot juice and beet juice. But it's also in cooked food. If I take corn on the cob, raw, it's actually okay. We serve it here. And if it's cooked, now I increase the sugar. So it's harder for me to digest the sugar, I should say, better than increasing. So the sugar is feeding fungus. Fungus feeds disease. That is the problem. It's a vicious circle of disease, fungus, that's feeding it, cancer, arthritis, lupus, Lyme, you name it, diabetes, of course. So that's why we're so strict with it. Are we strict with everybody? No. We serve fruit here on Thursday and Sunday for the ones that it's okay to have. And most people accept that when they have, for example, cancer, that they need to be free of it, at least for the next 2 years. They take a break, they let the body heal. Healing mold, fungus, yeast, candida, takes a long time. It's not a 3 months, 6 months. It could easily take 2 years or more. So we are bombarded, of course, with a lot of fungus, mold in our food, in our water, in our air, maybe in our house. And it takes a long time to clean. But what we need to do is to nourish our system so that it can fight it. We nourish the system, that boosts the immune system. You have white blood cells that fight this. They're called eosinophils. Normally, eosinophils are only 3% of your total white blood count. But hey, we can raise them. It's all communication. As the body gets what it needs when it comes to nourishment, oxygen, phytochemicals, it will fight for you. It will do what it needs to do. And you'll see here we see numbers flying, high or low, and showing us that this is now working, that your body is changing. So, and also, I wanted to add something. I hope that you all will be a part of the change. So I want to thank everybody in advance for being part of the change.
Thank you, Anna Maria.
Thank you.
So you mentioned a raw diet as part of your answer. How do you get full and feel satiated on a raw diet when you're eating sprouts and raw green vegetables, et cetera?
Yeah. And you can ask any of our guests that are here. They are amazed that they are not hungry after a meal. They are satiated. They're full. And all of us were brought up to that you should be full. You should feel full. Well, you had to eat a lot of meat and potato or rice and chicken to feel full. And it still didn't satisfy you. That's why the desserts and everything and the wine and coffee and everything came in. And by the way, people now have been using far too much alcohol, far too much caffeine. And it is a big problem. People are paying a big price because diseases are showing up that they should not have had. And cancer is one of them, heart attacks, strokes, others.
So alcohol is obvious, but just as a follow-up question with regard to caffeine, you see a lot of stuff coming out, even from people within the plant-based community.
Yes.
I talk about the benefits of coffee and green tea. Does it matter how you get that caffeine? And what are your thoughts on caffeine?
Well, obviously decaf is the worst because it has the forever chemicals. That's the way it was made. Caffeine, I know in Chinese medicine it might be added, homeopathic medicine might be added, but in so small amount. Caffeine is very acid forming and it increases your adrenal activity and it puts even more stress on your immune system than you need to have. So it's tough. And green tea, of course, there is ways to clean up the caffeine and it's a water-based process that could work. There's a lot of herbal remedies and herbal teas that would be fantastic for you. So there are also grain coffees. We have some here at the Institute and people can enjoy that and they taste great. And they put some nut milk into it, maybe a little bit of stevia if they know they need, because that's a natural sweetener. And so just to get people over the hump. But once we start you here, for example, with green juices that have so much nourishment, it's sunflower, pea sprout, celery, cucumber, wheatgrass juice, that is a complete nourishment. You are not hungry anymore. And so we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have raw cereal. We have also cooked cereal for the ones that is okay for. And then we have raw meals. And our chefs are so amazing to make foods that people that have traveled the world, been eating in restaurants everywhere, they tell me this is fantastic. This is so tasty. So I think, people think that we live on just sprouts and lettuce and cucumber, and they can't see themselves doing that. It's a whole different world. And there is a lot of vegan restaurants all over the planet now that you can enjoy too.
Great. Thank you very much. So you just mentioned traveling around the world. And in your presentation, you mentioned the dangers of 5G. How much radiation are we exposed to when we're flying around and in our lives in general?
There is atmospheric radiation, big time. And, we're exposed to that, but we're even more in your home, in your own home, in your kitchen, because there's a lot of things. You can shut the Wi-Fi off at night. Please don't have your cell phones, your laptops, everything in your bedroom. You want to, and you need your sleep big time. If you don't sleep well, first of all, we don't clean our brain up like we should. We don't clean our system like we should. Why do you go to the bathroom? The first thing you do in the morning. So, we live on pharmaceutics. We live on food that are non-nutritious. It's a big problem. And I think it's a huge problem because all the living beings that are here on earth together with us are suffering as we do. They get cancer, they get arthritis, they have heart problems, they have all our problems. And we created that. We created that out of greed and not thinking of the future. So, my whole PowerPoint was about the future and what you can do, what each person can do to support themselves and to protect themselves and their family. But we don't want to have to say to 5 generations from now, boy, we screwed up. We didn't do anything, because 20% of us are procrastinators. We don't do what we know we should do. So we got to get off that couch and get going and start growing things and growing sprouts and supporting organizations like EWG, that's environmental, that actually are working for this, and many other organizations. So don't let it go over your head anymore. This is far too important, and it is a crisis. We are in a global crisis.